Welcome to a conversation with the research team. I'm absolutely delighted that we've got Lydia and Cassie with us today. My name is Emma Smith. I'm the project manager with Empowered Conversations, which is a project of Age UK Salford. I'm just going to hand over to Lydia to introduce herself, and then Cassie.
Hi, I'm a clinical lecturer based at the University of Manchester and a clinical psychologist, and I'm leading on this particular project. And over to Cassie.
And I'm Cassie Eastham. I'm an occupational therapist by profession, but I've had an interest in research and joined the team as research associate at the end of last year. That's me. And back to Emma.
Thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Lydia. And thank you for joining us today. This is going to be an exploration into our research side of what we do at an Empowered Conversation. So I'm really excited to find out what Lydia and Cassie have got to say today. If you haven't been to one of these before, as I said, my name's Emma. I'm the project manager of Empowered Conversations. We deliver communication courses across Greater Manchester for family carers and people with dementia. And occupational therapists rock, Cassie, they do rock.
Feeling the love.
We also deliver one-to-one support for family carers in Salford and Bolton through Empowered Carers. And as a result of COVID, we do things like this. So we do regular webinars, we have a disco on a Tuesday, we have a singing group on a Friday, and we run various groups. At the bottom of your screen, so obviously we've all found the chat, so thank you for finding the chat. If at any point you have a question, if you drop it in the Q&A, we will pick that up at the end. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to hand over to Lydia, who's going to start the presentation. And then at the end of the presentation, obviously Cassie will have had some words in there as well. We'll come back for some questions and answers, and then we'll aim to be finished for 2:30. So that's our plan. Lydia, I think that's me done. I think I'm going to hand over to you and sit back and drink my tea.
Great, thanks Emma, and yeah, good to, well, in inverted commas, see everyone. Right, I'll just share this. Great, so we've already done some introductions. I'll just give a brief overview of the presentation. I will focus quite a bit on background because I know some of you aren't dead familiar with Empowered Conversations. I'll also give an overview of our research so far, because we've actually been working on Empowered Conversations, well, in a whole range of ways for about, I was trying to remember, Emma, but I think it's about 7 or 8 years now. It's quite a while. Anyway, so I'll say a bit more about what we've already done, and then we'll talk about the trial. We are going to have another linked webinar, which will say even more about the trial in that one, but we'll definitely give you some good intro to that. So just by way of overall background, so this harks way back to when we were developing Empowered Conversations, and we were looking around to see, oh, is there already something like Empowered Conversations out there? So we looked obviously at what services we're delivering, but we also looked at the research literature. And what we found was that there were some courses for carers, but they didn't, well, they rarely, if ever, focused on how interaction works. And they didn't have much focus on relationships, improving conversations, and the more sort of, I guess you could say, slightly more complex aspects of communication between a care partner or a carer and someone living with dementia. So because of that, and because of a number of other reasons, for example, what was being offered across Greater Manchester, we developed Empowered Conversations. And I haven't actually got a slide this time of all the people who've been involved in Empowered Conversations, but it's a lot of people. Emma has been very heavily involved, and of course Phil McAvoy, and a great deal of others. So I'm going to be focusing on the family and informal care partners empowered conversations. We do have a version for professionals as well, but I'll be focusing on family care partners. And I'll try and remember to use care partners, because that's what we were sort of advised was the preferred terminology by care partners themselves, but I might occasionally use carers if I forget. So the course format for the family care partners course, we were running it face to face for about 4 or 5 years, and during COVID we switched to online, and then found that for a lot of people online offered some real accessibility advantages. So we're currently mainly delivering online, and in terms of the actual course itself, the sessions are 2 hours with a bit of a break in between. And this is a video that some of you may have seen before, and it does feature Emma. So I'll just play it for you, but it gives you an example of a technique we use.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about invitation to respond, which is a technique that we use on the Empowered Conversations course. Quite often when we start a conversation, we'll start a conversation with a question, which is okay, and it's what most of us do. But for a person with dementia, that might be the first barrier to them actually joining the conversation. It might leave them sort of feeling anxious. Do they know the answer? Are they going to get enough time to get their answer out? Why are they asking this question? So what we try and do with invitation to respond, rather than ask a question and almost demand some information from somebody, we use invitation to respond. So we give a bit of ourselves. So we might talk about our day or something that's happened to us. We might use a compliment. We might sort of use an observation. Oh, it's a great day out there today. It's lovely. And then leave a space for them to respond to us. So unlike a question where if they don't respond, there's an awkwardness, there's embarrassment, with an invitation to respond, if a person doesn't choose to respond to us, doesn't actually create any embarrassment or awkwardness.
Great, so I just wanted to give that as an example. I mean, obviously the course is 6 sessions and we share a number of techniques and approaches within it. I will share very shortly some voices of carers, and also some carers talking about their experience. But I just wanted to put it in the context of what we've already done in terms of research, because we've done quite a fair bit of research. So the research we've done has been mainly focusing on developing empowered conversations and ensuring it best meets the needs of family carers. So it gives us an initial idea of, you know, does empowered conversations work? Is it in the best format it could be? And then from that, we've been building into the trial that I'm going to present, or we're going to present a bit later on today. But by way of sort of filling you in or keeping you in the picture, we'll present I'll present the actual findings of the research we've already done, and that's in the form of questionnaires and interviews. So we collected questionnaire data from 169 care partners. So this was the face-to-face empowered conversation. So this was when we were delivering it face-to-face. So we collected questionnaires before the course, after the course, and then a 4-month follow-up. So that's 4 months after the first session of the course. And we use multi-level analysis to analyse the data. And what we found was that stress levels significantly reduced across all time points. So for the carers accessing the course, stress levels reduced from before to after the course, and then they reduced again at follow-up. Similarly, communication improved from before to after the course, and then again at follow-up. So it gets better across all the time points, which is really great, which is what we would want, and is not always the findings that come out of studies with carers of people living with dementia, because obviously the stress associated with caring of someone for someone living with dementia can sometimes get worse over time as things get worse in terms of the dementia. So it's a really promising finding. So this is just giving it you in a visual form. So in terms of stress, so the time point 1 is the initial session of the course, time point 2 is at the end of the course, and time point 3 is at 4-month follow-up. So you see that the stress is going down. This is on a measure called the perceived stress scale. And then similarly, communication goes up across all the time points, so it improves. And this is on a measure called the Carer Communication Questionnaire. And as I said, I wanted to share some voices of carers in this presentation. And so this is people talking about their life.
As a carer is very stressful, very demanding. Physically, it's draining.
It's hard. I'm just in the house all the time, can't get out anywhere.
It's upsetting when you see your family member not being able to manage things, remember things, and it frightens me.
It's a lot of different emotions. The overwhelming one is sadness and grief. I've lost the person that she was.
It can be quite tiring and stressful to one degree, but on another level, it's very fascinating because you learn all the time. I was throwing loads of bras away before I realised you can adjust the straps. What an absolute numpty.
You're always doubting yourself because you think, am I doing the right thing? It's difficult because you don't know who to look for help. You're on your own, basically.
My mum is just doing what you do for your mum. She looked after me well when I was a kid, so it's just repaying, innit?
So actually, before I move on to the next slides, I just wanted to emphasise, I just think it's really important to keep in mind how challenging it can be. I mean, obviously, as you heard, there can be real joys and rewards, but you know, there can be quite a lot of stresses associated, particularly with being a full-time carer. So what I'll go on to talk about is to present some quotes directly from the interviews we did. So at the same time as we collected all this questionnaire data, I also conducted detailed interviews with 28 carers. So these are all carers who accessed the Empowered Conversations course. So this is all of people who have already done Empowered Conversations, and this is a few months after they've done the course. So I'll share some of their experiences. So one of the key aspects was, I guess, as we would have hoped, really, that communication and relationships really did improve. And one of our participants stated that they felt communication just really underlies everything, and it was so beneficial to them to have ways of improving their communication. And some other quotes, I tried to think about where he's coming from, how he must feel, and it made me realise how Bob's thinking. Earlier on, I used to get very impatient. So there's all these sort of what could sound like small improvements, but across sort of multiple areas of communication and the relationship, it really did make a big difference, both to the quality of life of the carer and often to the person living with dementia that they were supporting. And yeah, so some more quotes around improved communication. And again, some like seemingly small changes, like sitting facing the person who's being supported, but just really make a huge difference, as I think anyone who's been directly involved in supporting someone living with dementia could testify. So actually having that face-to-face contact does really make a huge difference. And and someone referring to the invitation to respond, which Emma introduced earlier, and just a lot of people said how helpful that was. And partly it made them think about the way they were communicating, and oh yeah, if someone's memories maybe changed a bit, it's not great sort of asking them loads of questions. That puts them on the spot, can make them feel uncomfortable. So I mentioned the improved quality of life, improved well-being. So this was particularly, obviously we were focusing on carers, so they were talking a lot about feeling less stressed and struggling less, taking time, being more patient, understanding that she can't find the words and it's not her fault. And then also a number of the care partners talked about the person living with dementia directly, so things that they'd noticed had impacted directly on the person they were supporting. So things like, I say, the body language, the eye contact, the physical presence, the physical touch, all that just seems to have enhanced my mum's well-being. So again, sort of maybe seemingly relatively small changes make a really big difference both to the care partner and the person living with dementia. And that was really very common across all the interviews. And another really sort of lovely aspect of what people got from the course was the knowledge that they weren't alone, and that they were sort of, you know, there were others in a similar situation. And for some people, it was the first time they'd ever spoken to other people that were in the same situation. And a number of people said how much they liked the sort of differences but the similarities, because we don't have that many, we offer the course in quite an open way, so we don't have a lot of restrictions as to who can access the course. So yeah, we sometimes have a mix of kind of sons and daughters, spousal carers. There can be a little bit of diversity within our groups in that respect, and indeed in other ways at times. So it's just worth mentioning that we did specifically ask people if they wanted to change anything in the course, if there were any improvements. And the biggest thing which 14 care partners said is that they wanted more sessions. So initially Empowered Conversations was a 4-session course. So this sort of this project, these findings I'm just talking about were based on a 4-session version of Empowered Conversations. So we did take that on board, and that's why we moved to the 6th session. And it does say we're piloting a 6th session, but we have actually piloted it now. I must have just missed slightly changing that. But yeah, so we've done a lot of work around the 6th session course, and we even did a mini project just focusing on the 6th session version. And then there were also specific suggestions which we also took on board, things like a section on problem solving. So we well, in consultation with carers and people living with dementia, picked out some common issues and then developed solutions in a collaborative manner so that we could share these, and yeah, and included other sort of resources as requested. So this is people after staying carers.
Me reassurance that I am doing the best that I can. I'm not letting my mum down. It's given me a bit more confidence in myself. It's given me the tools to help deal with the feelings that I do have of grief.
Going on the course, you meet other people, you learn from other people. It's a massive thing. Meeting the people that run the course, who are amazing people at what they do. It's reminded me of things like this simple thing they taught us about, an invitation to respond, try and make a conversation. The simple thing like, Mum, do you want a cup of tea? For me to say, oh, I'm thirsty. And then my mum might say, oh, I think I am, I'll have a drink. That was a brilliant skill.
I'm understanding how the brain, how it's affected. I understand how it's a communication disease. And I understand also that when my dad was behaving like he did, he was scared, but couldn't communicate that to anybody.
Trying to be face to face, because often I'm in the bedroom shouting to my mum in the bathroom, and then I go in and she'll say, I didn't know what you said, I can't understand, and it's because she couldn't see me.
So give me tools to talk to my mum when she is feeling agitated and upset, to try and distract her, sort of distraction techniques, and help me understand how she's talking to me and the actions that she's doing, how she could be feeling. But I've learned to be a little bit more selfish about it, that I'm not a bad person for wanting to spend a bit of time to myself.
I think it's been absolutely marvellous. I've tried to encourage people I know to do it.
It is fabulous. You know, when you just feel at ease with people.
Great. So yeah, I have seen that video before, but I just always love hearing from people, and as I say, I mean, I can try and evoke people's voices, but there's no substitute for actually hearing the impact that Empowered Conversations has had on people. And I must say that was certainly my experience from talking, because obviously I did 28 detailed interviews, but I probably spoke to about 150 of the 169 participants after the course at some point. And, you know, it just, so many people had a positive experience. So moving on to the current trial, so I'll be passing over to Cassie, who it's really great to have Cassie joining the team. So as Cassie said, she's joined the team to work on the current trial, and I'm sure I can speak for the whole team that she's been a fantastic addition and has been working really hard to develop the trial and get it set up. So can I pass over to you, Cassie?
You certainly can. Thank you for those very kind words, Lydia. It's been lovely being part of the team. It's a big change in my professional role, but it's been great working on the trial and actually being able to go back to my old colleagues in Wigan, where I worked in the memory service before, and promote the trial and Empowered Conversations, because it's not something that we as a team really knew about, and it's great to be able to share another tool for their toolbox of supporting the carers that they work with. So Lydia's talked a little bit about the studies and the research that have gone into the trial so far. So the question is, why are we doing some more research? So basically, the trial that we're doing this time is what they call a feasibility trial. So actually looking to see whether it would be possible to run a bigger trial of Empowered Conversations to get some robust evidence to make sure that it's a useful and effective intervention that actually makes a real difference to carers and people living with dementia. So running a big trial and running a national trial costs money. So the feasibility trial is a way of actually sort of testing all those different parts of running the trial. So we're looking at different ways of recruiting people to the trial, and how we measure their experiences, and investigating when there's any barriers to people taking part or participating in the course. Whether it's cost effective, and what do participants actually think about taking part in the trial and doing Empowered Conversations online. So as Lydia was saying, the previous research has all been looking at the face-to-face version of Empowered Conversations, but obviously the landscape has changed considerably out there since that research was done. And now with the course being run on Zoom, how are people experiencing the course as a whole, and how much of that makes a difference to people, really. So the trial itself now is being funded by the National Institute for Health and Care Research, and the benefits for that patient. I'm terrible with acronyms. Lydia,
research for patient benefit.
Patient benefit.
Research for patient benefit. Yeah.
That's the one. We always have. It's the joys of working in the NHS. We have plenty of acronyms for everything. So the current trial is a partnership between the University of Manchester, who Lydia works for. I work for the Greater Manchester Mental Health NHS Foundation Trust, and Age UK Salford, which is Emma's side of things. We're also working with Pennine Care Trust over on that side of Greater Manchester, and with lots of different community organisations across Greater Manchester as well. I think, Lydia, am I all right to move on to the The next
slide. Yeah, I'll move it. And also we're working with University of Salford as well. So we're working with a lot of people on this project. No, it's okay. I didn't put it on the slide, but I thought I had to flag that as well. Yeah. So, oh, sorry, it's not. Apologies, there's some issue with it. Oh yeah, there it is. Thanks.
So the trial that we're running at the moment, we are currently recruiting just within Greater Manchester, but looking to extend further across the northwest because we've had a little bit of interest from people who are just outside the boundaries, and we want to be able to include them in the trial. We're looking for informal and family care partners who help support someone who's living with dementia. We need people to have sufficient English language skills to be able to take part in the trial and the research activities and the course. People need to be okay with doing the course on Zoom, and that's something that we can offer a little bit of support with as well, I think, through Educate Salford as well, if people are struggling a little bit or a little bit uncertain about using Zoom. And it's a randomized control trial. So what that means is that participants who decide to take part in the study will do all our questionnaires at the first point of the study. And once they've done that, they'll be allocated to either the treatment group or to the control group. So the treatment group, using sort of the clinical trial terms, is the actual course itself. People who are selected for that group will be offered the course on the next available sessions. Following that, there'll be some follow-up measures at 6 months. If people are selected for the control group, again, they'll do the baseline questionnaires and the 6-month questionnaires, but we'll also then give them a chance to do the course 6 months later. So not as part of the trial itself, but we still wanted to include people and make sure that everybody got the benefits of taking part in the course. So what we've been doing recently is trying to recruit to the trial. So we've been open for recruitment since the beginning of March, trying to get the word out there via lots of different methods and different groups to share information about the trial. And about how people can take part, and trying to get participants to join the study. That will be ongoing till at least the end of November this year, and we'll be looking to recruit 75 participants altogether, or is it 7? Lydia, again, help me out. For some reason, I always add on some more to this to make my life harder, but it's 75, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 75, yeah.
Yeah. Ever so often, for some reason, the number 125 comes into my head, and then I realise, no, it's not that, and I'm trying to make life more difficult for myself.
Yeah, it's 75.
Lovely. So we've been getting referrals from the research team at Greater Manchester Mental Health and some of the memory services over there, and people have been contacting us independently as well. We've seen our work on Twitter and through the other methods that the groups and people like Dementia United have been sharing the word about the trial. So that's where we're up to. I mean, have I missed anything, Lydia? Was there anything else that you wanted to add to what the trial involves or where we're up to?
No, I mean, I think I guess the key thing is allowing a bit of time for questions. But I mean, so in terms of if people want to refer into the trial, we do have details on the Empowered Conversations website, which is probably one of the easiest ways of finding our information, because you just search Empowered Conversations and then you find it. But you can also contact myself or Cassie directly. You probably actually, if you searched Empowered Conversations trial, you'd find our one of the various things that includes our contact details on the internet. But yeah, Emma, I don't know if you were going to ask us some questions about this, I think, weren't you?
Oh, well, should we come off?
Yeah, I'm trying to get off it, and it's not. I just stopped sharing.
There you go. Oh,
Hey, can see people again.
Back in the room. So right, I guess I'm a simple mind, so I like to know things simply. So basically, if I'm a carer living in not Bolton or Salford, so why are we not including Bolton and Salford? Let's start with that. Why are Bolton and Salford not included in this trial?
So that's because Emma and the team are working on another project in Bolton and Salford. So it's just trying to make things a bit more straightforward for carers and indeed for people referring into the Empowered Conversations team. So basically everyone gets Empowered Conversations, but if it's Bolton and Salford, they're more likely to go into this other project that Emma is involved in, and if it's anywhere else in Greater Manchester, and probably, as I say, we'll be expanding it further across Northwest, then it would come to myself and Cassie at the research team. Okay,
so I'm in Rochdale and I'm a carer. So what do I? So I find an email address, or hopefully I'm getting support from a local organisation who might signpost me over. So I email Cassie and I say, I'd like to do the course. What happens next?
What happens next is you'll get another email back from me, which will send you through a brief information sheet, and then a far more detailed information sheet about what the study involves. One part that I didn't mention before is that there is an aspect of the trial that is for the person who's actually living with dementia. So it's actually looking at the level of their dementia that they're experiencing at the moment. So to assess that, what we do is using a tool called the Clinical Dementia Rating Scale. It's about a half hour of an interview. So we talk to the person who's supporting them, get a picture of their perspective on how the person's doing at the moment, and then have a chat with the person who's living with dementia as well. That part of the study is optional. Part of that testing is some quite direct questions about memory and memory testing. And we know that not everybody likes being asked direct questions about the memory. It can be upsetting. It can make people very anxious. And we don't want to make people anxious and upset. So that part is optional. So that's a conversation we'll have with you about whether it's right for the person that you're supporting. And we'll make a decision about that. So we send some information as well for the person who's living with dementia for them to have a look at as well, to help them make their mind up. Once we've sent you all that information and you've had a chance to read it all, I'll give you a call or send you an email, whichever you prefer. We'll have a chat, make sure you understand everything that's in the information that we've sent, answer any questions that you've got. Just sort of double check that you do meet everything that we need you to do for the trial. We'll probably have covered that while we've been chatting, whichever way before then. And then for the baseline questionnaires, so the questionnaires that we do at the start of the trial, and actually for the follow-up ones, you'll have a choice. You can either complete them online, so that you can do in your own time. I keep saying it's a little bit like doing an online survey, so something like SurveyMonkey, where you're answering a questionnaire. So there's a set of questionnaires that we'd ask you to do, but that's it's a secure system. It's all through academic services and through the university, so that is quite secure and safe. Or you can have a visit from me. I'll come out and do the questionnaires with you face to face. Again, that's up to you, whichever you prefer. Or even if you start the questionnaires online and suddenly think, oh, this isn't for me, we can always swap over and I'll finish things off in a face-to-face appointment. So yeah, that's what would happen next. And then once we've made that decision, we send you the login if you decide to do it online or make an appointment to come and see you. And that's the start of everything.
So I'm thinking about time. Obviously, the course is a 12-hour commitment for people because we deliver it as 6 times 2-hour sessions. How long would that all take for me? So I feel like, I'm stressed out and busy anyway. So how long for that sort of first step? What do you reckon?
Oh, I always say it depends how much talking we have to do. So the actual questionnaire should take about 45 minutes to an hour to do. Obviously, it depends on how good you are with technology and doing the surveys and how comfortable you are. But again, you can do that in your own time, and we built it in that although it's better to do them as soon as possible and all together, you can stop, you can start, you can come back to them whenever you've got 5 minutes just to do another survey and carry on with that.
Yeah, and you can ask for support if there's particularly, you know, well, with anything really, but I'm thinking particularly with the online stuff, sometimes people need a bit of support. Yeah, I find that it's really variable how long questionnaires take to fill in, and it really is. What we always encourage people is to not think about it too much and to just do your first answer, and you know, and I think in that scenario, like Cassie says, like 45 minutes ish, or maybe even a bit less if people are really speedy. It also depends a bit on whether people do the dementia rating a bit, because obviously that probably adds on an extra half hour at least, but the sort of the core questionnaires probably, yeah, as Cassie said, about about 45 minutes ish, or give or take either way, depending on speed. And then and I guess the sort of the bit where we're talking to people, mainly it's Cassie and occasionally it's me, it doesn't usually take too long unless there are things that people want us to look into. So obviously if there are queries around, you know, when the course is going to be, and you know, all those sorts of things, we'll look into that sort of thing and get back to people, and yeah, so that can happen as well.
Brilliant. And I should take this opportunity to say, if you've got any questions now, pop them in the Q&A. So if you look at the bottom of your screen, there's a few little tabs. There's one that says participants, there's one that says Q&A. So if you click that, you can just type your question in there. Alternatively, if that one's a bit tricky, you can just drop into chat and you can drop a question in there, and then we will pick it up from there, definitely. I suppose there's a bit of a double whammy with this in terms of benefits, because obviously, you know, I wouldn't have been working on empowered conversations for this long if I hadn't seen the benefit it brings to families who come on the course. So that's not only the caregiver, but the person with dementia and the wider family, when they start to share these messages out and, you know, just change how they communicate and connect with somebody with dementia. But there's also the added benefit, you know, if you want to be part of research and sort of feel that you're part of something bigger. And I just wondered if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that can be I mean, different people, I guess, have different thoughts on it. But I think certainly it does contribute to supporting carers in the future. And it also, I think, and this is, in a way, this is more my personal opinion than anything else, I think it can give people a bit more of a voice. And I think sometimes carers don't, because obviously the focus is, and in many ways quite rightly so, is on the person they're caring for, supporting. Sometimes carers can feel a little bit sidelined. So I think in that way, research can offer a forum for that. And although some people don't particularly like questionnaires, some people actually do find the sort of like the checking in, which does happen more in research, because it doesn't always, you know, services don't always have the capacity to do that. Do find that sometimes quite helpful, actually. And, you know, obviously if we noticed that a carer was struggling, we would put them in touch with other support and things like that. So I think there can be, you know, there can be benefits for people from being part of a research study. Obviously, there are usually more questionnaires to fill in certainly in this sort of research study, but I think there can also be things that people, you know, find quite helpful in and of itself.
Thank you for that. Kim's asked, a mum doesn't live in Greater Manchester. Is that a problem for this study?
No, so we're because the course is aimed at carers, it's based on the carer location, so it's the carer needs to live in. So as long as Kim lives in Greater Manchester, then that's great. We can include people. And we are looking to extend it, like we said, because we have had a few people who are just out of area, which is just a real shame. But there's a whole process, as is often the case. So we're just about to start that whole process to try and extend it to a slightly larger part of the Northwest.
Thank you for that, Lydia. And Yella's has said, this was earlier when we were talking, she said, so sometimes all we need is a listening ear that is empathetic and reassuring that we're doing our best. Otherwise, being a carer can be such an invisible and isolating role. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
I agree.
Okay, any more questions? Drop them in now and we'll have a good go at answering them. So we should say we've got courses. So we've got courses from June now, haven't we, really, for people to join if they get through on the trial rather than they're in the control.
I'm probably one thing that might be worth mentioning, because it is something we quite often get asked, is we do offer evening courses as well. I say we, this is more Emma's side of things. Emma and the facilitator team offer evening courses, and the facilitator team are a really fantastic group of people. I think nearly everyone on the team has had personal experience of caring for someone living with dementia, and you know, just really very passionate about supporting other care partners, and obviously they're trained as well, and so that, you know, I think it's that. But yeah, we do offer evening courses as well as daytime courses, because we're aware that that can be quite tricky for some people.
And you'd be glad to know we do it after tea time, so it's, well, a northern tea time. It's after northern tea time, so it's 7 o'clock. If you're from the south and you've moved up here, well, I'm sorry if you have your tea at 7, but that's our time. Okay, Kim said, Mum now has a living carer who's professional, but in the family home in partnership with myself. Would this course or the one for professionals be best?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you want. I mean, I don't really know what the status is of the professional carer courses at the moment, but I mean, the family carer course and the professional carer course do offer fairly similar sets of techniques. I mean, I guess it would depend on what you wanted to support with Kim. If you felt like there were some areas in your own communication and relationship that you felt like you benefit from, then of course oh, sorry, you're raising your hand. Can people actually say things, or can they just type it in chat?
I think they can only type it in chat.
Okay. We can also we could also have a conversation outside of this seminar if that might be the easiest, I guess. But obviously, if you do want to put something in the chat, I mean, maybe should I share your email in the chat, Cassie, because obviously that's the one we're using.
You can do. I've seen Kim's actually emailed me before.
Oh, great. Oh, okay,
so
lovely.
Spotted it coming through. So, if you want me to give you a call, Kim, or send you an email, and we'll set up a time that's convenient for you, and we'll take things from there if you want.
And I just from the course perspective, certainly it really is helpful for the person with dementia if there's a number of people using those techniques around them. So it's not just one person. So I definitely see a benefit of having both Kim and also the living carer, not necessarily through the trial, but another way of getting them through some training around empowered conversations would really be beneficial for your mum, I would think. Right. I'm going to give people one more minute to drop in some questions. And if you don't have any questions, I'm going to say that's that. I'm just putting a little poll out just to see if you've enjoyed the webinar today. We've got more webinars coming up later in the month, so I will send details to you about that. So hopefully you can join us for them. And also to say, we have got a ton of recorded webinars sitting on YouTube. So if you look for Empowered Conversations on YouTube and follow us on that channel, you will find lots of other webinars that we've been delivering over the last 2 years. So there's a wealth of information there for you as well that's hopefully helpful. Okay, don't think we have any more questions. So I am going to say thank you so much, Lydia. Thank you, Cassie, for your time today. Thank you for joining us. And we will see you again soon. I hope you have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you very much. See you all soon.
Thanks, Emma.